Hello guys, it's Toad Peregrine 4 here with another video. I've already recorded this once, but it was terrible, so I'm recording it again. Fun fact, you probably shouldn't record at 3 in the morning, because you can't really put the, well, especially if you live in an apartment, you can't really put the emphasis in your voice in order to make yourself loud enough, realistically. In post I had to boost my volume up way too high, and I was getting a bunch of noise from doing so, I'm just recording this. Also, it was like half an hour long because I got way off topic, but this is just an update video to explain the past few videos that have been on my channel. The past few have been sped up videos of me just working on this area. And I didn't actually say anything in these videos, and the reason I did not do them was because I wasn't entirely sure what direction I wanted to take this build just yet. And now that I've started to work on it, I've sort of fleshed out what exactly I want to do a bit more. Man, I don't know what that was. The format of the past few videos is actually, well, that exact format at least is not going to be uploaded. It's not going to be content on the channel. I'm still probably going to do some sped up stuff, but I will cut in and talk about what I'm doing during the video, which I've done before. This is a real mess. Come on. That was too bad. Okay. If you kill an animal like that, it can trample crops like their dead body can. But yeah, okay. So I'm working on not really a castle, but more of a keep. Which difference there? Between the two is a castle is one structure with walls and a main building, whereas a keep is more of the core of a city that is surrounded in walls, usually with some sort of main hall as well for government bodies of that area. So with a castle, this entire structure would all be a part of the castle. And I don't exactly want that. What I want is to build a castle inside these walls, not actually touching the walls though. So my plans are to build the walls. They're certainly not done yet. Right now they're just slabs of stone brick, and that is absolutely not going to stay. I'm going to build these walls in a couple of different phases. First is just, first was planning, which is already done. The second is physical construction of the bulk of it, which is what I'm currently working on. And the last phase is detailing, where I'm going to go through and give the walls a consistent style. Which will probably take the longest of all of the steps, to be honest, because you have to go in and break stuff you've already placed, and yeah, but you know, whatever. It should be fine, especially when you're watching it 10 times. Let me go back to the map so I can show you my intentions real quick. Oops, over here. This map room is so far away. Alright, so I want to have the main castle probably being either up in this corner here, the northern segment, or in this western segment. I haven't decided which just yet. And depending on what I choose for an entrance and whatnot, will determine that. Because also with the keep, I mentioned that all of the core stuff required for the city is inside the walls. However, less important stuff in some houses are still on the outside of the walls. So, for example, since the real estate within the walls of the keep is more valuable because it's protected from being raided and whatnot, you don't really have enough room for farms on the interior of this, just because it would take up way too much space to feed a town. So the farm is going to be on the outside of the wall, so it's in a little area, which when I finally get done with the walls, it's not going to look like just this. It's actually going to be a little more pleasant, not just a block of farmland. So that's not going to stay like it is. But yeah, I'm either going to have the keep in the northern part or the western part. And that depends on whether I want the entrance on the southern wall, where on the southern wall, or on the eastern wall somewhere. Because what I want to have is wherever the main entrance is, I want to have sort of a market shop area right by the entrance. So that way anyone visiting the keep, can do all their shopping as soon as they get into the area. Then next to that is going to be residential, like houses and stuff, and then the third area is going to be for the castle. The only place I know where the castle is not going to go is this middle quadrant here. It's not really a quadrant, but if you imagine this is a square, then you can divide it up into quadrants. It's a lot easier to describe. Those are my intentions. Currently I'm working on the wall, and when I get done with that, then I'll probably work on the shop area, entrance area, then the residential houses and stuff, and lastly the castle. Mostly because for the castle I want to leave a break in between building the walls and building the castle, because I imagine I'm going to burn through a lot of the same resources for both of those segments. Also, once I have the rest of the keep built, it will give me a better idea for scale, for how large I need to build the castle in order for it to look right. So there's a couple of reasons why I'm building the actual castle of the keep last. So I started working on a project similar to this, very, very similar to this, on the last server, and some of that work was some of the earliest stuff I uploaded to this channel. Sorry about that. Feeling a little bit ill. Excuse me. However, there were a couple of things that I did wrong with that. I did detail the walls, which I'm glad I did. I did get that right. Although the walls were a little bit short. If I recall correctly, the walls were only 20 or so. I don't even think that they were that tall. I'd have to go back to a video and check. But they weren't very tall at all. So they didn't really look very grand from the outside, which isn't ideal. They were also extremely regular, because what I had done before is I found an area, and rather than finding sort of an open area of forest, instead I found an area that sort of intermixed with a lot of water, and I flattened it out entirely. I made a very flat plane to work on, which wasn't ideal, to be honest. Having some actual landscape to sort of keep things looking not as uniform has definitely a very positive effect, whereas just making an area super flat really limits your creativity, sort of doesn't give you natural transitions into other areas. Pretty much anywhere you put anything is going to be a completely arbitrary decision. If it's completely flat, because the terrain in no circumstance will lend itself towards a build, because all the terrain is exactly the same, exactly flat, which sort of left me uninspired to finish it, which is why that project sort of fell off, to be honest. And I stopped doing that in lieu of doing some redstone builds, and some like large scale in-town sort of stuff, which, you know, isn't a bad thing. It's just I sort of killed the project by making it too uniform. Whereas this, I'm doing a couple of different things differently. One, I'm leaving the terrain non-uniform, so there are actually going to be hills and bumps and stuff and that sort of thing, which I much prefer. Pretty much as soon as I started working inside that last keep, I immediately started to regret having leveled it out. Also, I plan on making the walls not one uniform height. So this area that we're running along now, the southern edge, since it's right by the coast, this wall is going to be a fair few blocks lower than other areas of the wall, such as this northwestern wall piece is up on a hill. I mean, it's on average probably 6 or 7 blocks higher than down there, probably more, to be honest. So this area, the actual walkway of the wall, is going to be higher up, and there will be some steps that you have to climb on the upper walkway in order to get to that area. And then this section of the wall, since it's sort of in the middle, you know, it's not quite as tall as over there, but it's also higher than the southern edge. This one's going to be in the middle, so there's going to be 3 or 4 different heights of segments, which will also keep things looking a little bit fresh, I think. And the corner towers are going to be of varying height depending on what they're overlooking. So like this one over in this corner, since it has to look over a mountain, is probably going to be fairly tall, whereas this one, which is looking over the ocean, you don't have to look over really anything, so this one's going to be fairly short. You know, the one in that corner is not going to be very tall, but it's going to be taller than this one. And then the one over there might be the tallest because of what it has to look over. And because with the roofed forest over there, I do plan on having some sort of like enchanted evil forest look as well. So I'm going to rework that area a fair bit, make it look creepier. So I'm really going for a very immersive build. Another decision I made, which you may have picked up on this just from watching this video, or from the original video where I was preparing a new area, I chopped down every tree except for the large oak trees, because I wanted to use those as natural markers for where things should go. So if I'm planning on where to put a building, rather than just putting it somewhere, I'm going to try to avoid destroying as many of these large oak trees as possible, to sort of make me work around them. So they'll sort of give me a guide as to where to build things. But I definitely needed to clear out a fair amount of the smaller trees, just because they're, you can't build anything through those. So pretty much this entire forest biome, I did the exact same thing too. So I'm really excited to work on this, to be honest. Like, I am planning on using my own texture pack rather than one of the more, well, it's not entirely my own. I'm using a modified version of Vadix Old Faithful pack, which I edited specifically for use on the server, which I reworked probably 20 textures or so. Not too many, but I did change some stuff up to fit my liking more. So, like for example, when you draw back a bow, you know, the tip changes color, which you can see now, depending on how drawn it is. A super minor change, but I made it nonetheless. As well as replacing diorite with marble and marble bricks, and granite with basalt and basalt bricks. So there are other changes, but I'm not going to go over them in this video because I'm not. But for the old castle build, I used a hybrid of I believe it was the Conquest texture pack and another one that I can't remember. I would have to check the description of some of my older videos to figure out what it was. But I do want to go with a more traditional texture pack, something that doesn't change stuff nearly as much. Because even though those texture packs really do lend themselves to this kind of build, I don't generally prefer them for other builds. Yeah, even though it won't quite fit this build as well, it should still look very good, or at least that's the goal. Which, even though this isn't the vanilla texture pack, it's a slightly modified version of an Old Faithful texture pack. I think the net effect will still be the same. But I'll probably have another quick video going over my texture pack, just showing what I changed, just to give some scale. But that's pretty much all that I'm going to have for this particular video. This guy needs to get out. Get out of here. But yeah, that's going to be all for this video. Made it much more concise, which is good. But quick announcement: I still plan on making setup videos for this castle because for such a large build, it's not practical for me to upload it at regular speed, commentating over all of it. I simply couldn't, and I would prefer to show the build process rather than just, you know, I could just show you, oh, here's a forest, and then cut to a completed keep. So for me, somewhere in between those two styles is where I want to be, where I want to show the process, but I also don't want to have just hours and hours and hours of dead air while I build this thing, because I would hate myself if I commentated over. This whole project's probably going to take somewhere along the lines of 60 to 100 hours. And if I record that much of my voice and put it on YouTube, I will hate myself. So, rather than doing that, what I'm going to start doing is I'm still going to have the sped up parts for video, but I am going to provide a little piece of me talking intermittently throughout the video, definitely at the beginning and definitely at the end, explaining what I plan to do and what I end up doing, just to give you guys some context. So that's going to be a change to my format. I'm still going to have the sped up bits because I still like showing that stuff on camera, but it should be more engaging, which was a criticism I received from a member on the server. So you have that to look forward to. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. 360 no scope.